Hey guys, welcome to my latest video. This is on a 100 amp 20 circuit panel that we're putting in on a renovation job in Union, New Jersey. So we've done a lot of wiring in this house before. We did a second floor, we did a bathroom, we've done lights out on the porch. We've done several things, and we're currently working on the kitchen renovation right now and a bathroom on the first floor. So this wiring here was old, to say the least, and it looks like a homeowner did a lot of this work. A lot of it was wrong, and so the customers asked me to make this right, and so that's what I'm doing here today. I'm going to eliminate that panel on the right hand side and also those two junction boxes over there on the left. So the homeowner years ago had wired these projects, and they just weren't done right, so now we're going to make them safe. So here we are, installing the service entrance riser cable into the main breaker panel. You can see me there working. I'm trying to get the knockout out of the top of the panel enclosure there so I can put in a 1-inch connector where I'm going to be putting in the service entrance riser cable. Now, the service entrance riser cable is a 4-wire assembly. It's got two number 2 American wire gauge aluminum conductors. I'm sorry, 3. So you'd have 2 hots and a neutral, and of course the ground is a little bit smaller than the ungrounded conductors because that's what the National Electrical Code calls for. So that's how it comes. What I like to do is I like to put it on a 2-pole 90 amp circuit breaker here in the main breaker panel. And the reason why I do that, I believe that's a code thing, that you can't use the 100 amp because of some derating rule in the code book. I'd have to look that up to be more specific, but this is the way I've always done a 100 amp panel with a 90 amp circuit breaker. And if you know that code section, you want to leave it in the comments, that's fine. I am a licensed electrician, and I could find it if I needed to. I know the rule, so we'll leave it at that. So here I am cutting in the neutral, and of course in this QO panel, I'm guessing this is from the mid-80s sometime, the terminals that are built into the panel when you buy it are not large enough to add a sub panel. So you can see there on the right on that bus, I've added 2 new lugs properly sized for these conductors, specifically for the number 2 aluminum neutral, and most likely a number 4 aluminum equipment ground. Anyhow, so there we are, terminating them properly, and there you see them sit just right and properly terminated. So here I am with the 100 amp 20 circuit main lug only panel. There's room for actually 24 circuits on here with a couple of twin circuit breakers. So there I am putting in the connector for where the service entrance cable will come into the panel. I like to put that inside the connector as I'm putting the panel up. It's just easier to mount the panel this way and get the wire in there, less struggles. So I've been an electrician 27 years. I've done a lot of these, and this is the fastest way that I have found to get this done. So here I am organizing a few new circuits from the kitchen. One was for the dishwasher, a microwave, and 2 countertop receptacles for GFCIs. So here I'm removing a few of the old wiring that was there. Some of those wires need to be reconnected in the panel here. One of them goes out to the detached garage, that wire hanging on the left there. And the other one, I believe, was a clothes dryer, and another circuit that goes out to an old sunroom, which will be abandoned at one point, but not today. Finally, there goes the old panel after I've disconnected all the circuits in there. Right there, you can see I'm working on installing some junction boxes to extend those circuits that didn't reach the new panel. I had to do that in 2 spots there on the left, and then another spot on the right. So I drilled holes in those floor joists and bring my wire over to the panel. There's the other junction box on the right hand side. These wires are just too short to reach the new panel location, so you got to put a a junction box in there when necessary. So that's what I'm doing here. Here I am just cutting in some of the wires, putting in connectors for the cables. I did have to take these in and out a couple times because I'd forgotten a couple conductors, and I just like to make it nice and neat when I install it. So I wound up taking that connector out and putting a double connector in there to make sense for another new wire that I had to add that I hadn't thought of when I was putting these connectors in. So even the good electricians make mistakes. You go back and correct them. Make sure it's nice and neat. This thing's going to be here for another 70 years or so at a minimum, I'm guessing. So we want to make sure it lasts. It looks nice. It's aesthetically pleasing. And of course, everything's wired correctly. So that's why it takes so much time to just make these things just right. So I'm tightening down a couple of the duplex connectors there. I'm going to cut back some BX here in a minute, some armored cable, put that into a special connector. Looks like the line for the utility room receptacles and lights. I think that's what that was. Here I am drilling a couple holes for another new circuit for the kitchen, I think. Oh no, that goes to the other junction box there. That's what I was doing. Okay. I don't think I showed it there, but eventually I put a junction box in and joined and extended that branch circuit. So this all just takes time. I want to say we did this over the course of maybe 4 hours. I want to guess between tying it into the main panel and running the cable assembly from this location back to the main breaker. And then, of course, finally mounting the panel. Eventually, we're going to install the circuit breakers, terminate all the wires, and energize the circuits. There's a few new kitchen circuits here that we will leave off. I will tape off those circuit breakers so they don't accidentally get turned on. People know on the job not to turn those on. Here in this sub panel here, you always want to isolate your grounded neutrals from your equipment grounds so you don't have any objectionable current flowing on grounded parts in the house, such as copper water pipes or anything that can conduct electricity, galvanized pipe, water pipe, whatever the case might be. Those are all grounded, and if you have current flowing on them, it could be a fatality if someone was to get in the middle of that circuit and complete a path to ground. So very important to isolate your grounds and neutrals here at the sub panel. So now we're all done with the panel, and we've installed the circuit breakers. And I'm about to flip on the main for that panel, the sub panel, and go back there and check for the voltage and make sure it's correct before energizing each of the circuit breakers in the panel. So this basement here, we'll be redoing that shortly from what I understand. So here we go, checking the voltage. We're good. I think it's a little high. I think it was a 124 to 124 volts to ground there, and 249 between the two legs. So it's a little high, but within the threshold. And circuit breaker identification, so important to me. This is what the people always want, just correctly. Sometimes it's not easy to do, especially in older houses where circuits go from one room to the next room to the next room. You can't always fit that on this little identification card that comes with the panel. So you do the best you can and try to label it the best you can. That actually is an NEC requirement in the code. Get this panel cover on and we'll be identifying the circuits. There's only maybe 11 circuits in there. So I pretty much knew what every one of them was. One was a clothes dryer. And then I had a couple double pole circuit breakers for the 3-wire home runs going to the kitchen. There's a boiler. And here's your final project. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.